In this video I want to talk about how I implement what I learned from books, and I'm gonna go through my library here and pick a few ones and just tell you the stuff that I learned, implemented in my life, and what the results were. Alright, so the first one would be Never Split the Difference by Voss, Negotiating as if your life depended on it. This was a book that I read for my book club. We had a book club specifically dedicated to implementing what we read in books, and we started to share stories with each other. The idea was to read the book, and then after we learn a technique or something, we try it out immediately and we share our discoveries. One of the highlights from this one that I used a lot is the accusation audit. The idea is that you present your ask as this horrible thing, maybe just voicing whatever could go on in the person's head that you're going to ask something about. So, for instance, I used it when I was asking for a refund for a plane ticket. There was a plane that was delayed, so I called the customer service and I said, like, I'm sorry, I'm going to be the worst customer you've met today. And what I asked about is probably outrageous, and I'm going to be super annoying and idiot, but and then I started to ask my question, right? And then I set the expectations so high for my ask in the other person's brain that whatever I ask for will sound puny compared to what they expect. This is a really good technique. I think to ask for something in this way is actually leads to some laughs, and you also have a bigger chance of getting what you want. Here's another business-related book that I've read, Gunnar Andri's The Message from the Middle of Nowhere. It's more of a mindset that I adopted from this book. When I do deals with people, even if you're not in business or anything, you deal with people, you deal with your children, you buy stuff which you can make deals about and stuff like that, but it's not limited to people in business, and it's the non-monetary compensation. So let's say you're in a negotiation situation, maybe at work. We have to think outside just money. There are other things that we can get, right? So thanks to that mindset, it helped me get more vacation days from work because I had a negotiation with my employer. We didn't really come to a good deal that everyone was happy about, and I threw in that I could get more vacation days because I didn't get exactly the amount of money that I wanted, and I actually got another week of summer vacation that I was paid. So that was kind of a good bargain. I just think it's a good mindset to think about non-monetary terms, because there might be things that the other person has and can give you that doesn't hurt their wallet as much, but it's still a resource that you want. Born to Run, this was a life-changing book to me. It's not a technique that I adopted, but this book got me to start running. It's quite an inspiring book. It's about the Tarahumara people, a tribe of runners that this journalist is visiting, and they set up a race. It's one of those books that reads like fiction almost, and there's a ton of interesting characters in it. But the main takeaway from this book has been that it got me out and running. I've never been a runner before, but ever since I read this, it was 10 years ago, I've been running consistently. And I love it. It's also something that has been very helpful for my health, hopefully. A science book that gives a good inspiration for things to implement in your life is Why We Sleep. Just by learning about sleep, you figure out where you fall short, right? Many of us, we sleep too little. We also don't know too much about sleep, which prevents us from doing good decisions around our sleeping habits. This book got me to stop drinking coffee after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because the half-life, that's the time that it takes for half of the dose of caffeine to get out of your body, I think. The gist of it is that if you drink coffee in the afternoon, it will impact your sleep later that night. Another thing that I implemented is that I'm much more careful with how many hours I sleep. I know I need a lot of sleep. Unfortunately, with the kids and all, it's not always possible, but I try to get 8 hours of sleep, and I've done a lot of experiments with less, and it really helps to sleep 8 hours. If you haven't tried it, do it. Parallel Universes of Self. This is a weird one because it's pseudoscience. It's about manifestation and reality creation. And I'm torn about that because I used it a lot and it works, but I also know that it has very weak scientific ground that it stands on. To this book, I've implemented the idea of the intention list, which is basically a list that you create for yourself. I do this in the evening. I write my intentions for the future, and I write this in past tense, so as if it have already happened. And it's things that I want, small or big stuff, things that I want to happen, and I state them as if they have already happened. The thing is that every time I keep up this routine, mysterious things start to happen. It's amazing. I think it's because you set your mind and intentions on something, then you're more receptive to situations and opportunities that will make the things on your list happen. It should be green. It doesn't matter, I can't find the book, but Rejection Proof by Jiang. This was a book that I also read for my book club, where we implement things from books, and it's a book about a guy that sets a 100-day challenge for himself where he's going to be rejected, and the rejections are going to escalate as an attempt to become fearless, basically. And what we did was that we copied ideas from the book and came up with our own challenges depending on our own personal bar for how tolerant we were to rejections.
Hi, I was wondering if I could get 5 small cream egg McFlurries, please.
5 small cream eggs?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Is there any chance I could get a Big Mac for free?
What do you mean?
Like just not pay, like just for free, just kind of throw it in the order.
Some things that I did there actually yielded some really interesting results. One was just fun. I ordered a square pizza, for instance. I called up the pizza delivery place and said, hey, I actually did an accusation or audit. It's like, hey, you're going to think I'm crazy. This is probably the most stupid thing you ever heard, but please, can you make me a square pizza? And lo and behold, I got a square pizza. And when I got there, the guy in the pizza store actually told me that he had a super fun experience doing it, and it was one of his better days this week. Another thing that I asked for was these t-shirts from the Philosopher's T-shirt. Basically, I asked for a sponsorship. I recorded a video of myself saying, hey, I have a channel about philosophy, psychology, all of that, and you have perfect t-shirts for me to wear on the channel. Can you send me clothes? And yeah, a few weeks later, I got a whole bag with hundreds of dollars worth of t-shirts, and we started a partnership because of it. And that was something that was super uncomfortable for me to do, but it led to some interesting results. There. Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley is another book that I've implemented ideas from. A lot of it is business related and might not be too fun for this audience, but one idea that stuck with me was the idea of having 7 hours of content about yourself online. This is because it takes about 7 hours, I think that was the number, I haven't read it in a while, for trust to be built. And if you can have content about what you're doing out online, then people who follow you, they will see it, and that they will build trust before you have even spoken to them. And I know this effect works on me as well. I have people in the book community that I've just followed, and once I've talked to them, creating some kind of collaboration or whatever is super easy because I already trust that person. So building up a lot of content around yourself could be super helpful if you have a business or a brand, because it will build trust while you sleep. And when it comes time to do some kind of negotiation or project together, the trust is already established from the other person, and things can escalate faster. I have tons more examples, but I just wanted to pop in and do a quick video about implementing books. Let me know in the comments how you implemented the last couple of books that you read. I love to hear that, because I think that's one of the key components to the reading and learning life, is to take action on what we learn. I'm back next week with more book content. Until then, Björn out. Subscribe.